2024 is looking really good for the UFC right now, and I can't wait. We had 4 fights being announced right now, and I'm just excited for these. But the first one I want to talk about is purportedly, based on some Instagram posts and some other stuff, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Now, you always have to take this with a pinch of salt because Paulo Costa is the most reliable person when it comes to showing up to fights. I know he was supposed to fight Robert Whittaker at UFC 284, I believe that's when he was reported to fight. That fight didn't happen. He claimed it wasn't in the works that. There was one a long time ago against Marvin Vettori before they actually fought. Then he pulled out of the fight with Khamzat Chimaev, a whole bunch of stuff with that. He was supposed to fight before that, Ikram Aliskerov. He was supposed to fight him. That didn't happen, so he hasn't been reliable. He's only really fought one other time, which was against Luke Rockhold. And that was a unanimous decision win. Robert Whittaker, he's still one of the top guys. He's in that bubble right now of the top middleweights. And yes, he's fallen off a bit because he just lost to the first guy that wasn't named Israel Adesanya in quite some time. And actually, I think that's the only other person to beat Robert Whittaker at middleweight, which is Dricus du Plessis. And Dricus has proven to be really good, so there's no shame in that. But he's looking to bounce back from this, and he is still a top-level guy. He's in his 30s, but he isn't super old now. And I think he just is going to wipe the floor of Paulo Costa. And I think that's just a given. I think enough people know that's going to happen. Paulo Costa doesn't have this crazy power punch unless it's against Johnny Hendricks, up a weight class and out of prime, and had been chinned several times. It's just he just doesn't hit hard enough. He's a volume puncher, and yes, his takedown defense is decent, and he's got He's got good. He's got an underrated ground game. But Robert Whittaker's just better, in every single way the fight goes. If he gets him to the ground, he's going to just punish him from there. On the feet, he's got several weapons they can use. He's got a good jab. He's got a good, side kick to the hip. Think of that, just damage him. It's gonna be crazy with that. I think Paulo Costa is trying to go in for a brawl, and Robert Whittaker is just going to technically dismantle him. You'll just see that. He'll be charging in. He's going to get hit while trying just to swing crazy. The cross and jab are going to hit him before the hooks hit Robert Whittaker. That's just a given of that. Use the range of that. That's going to hit before the hooks do. It's a given of that, and he doesn't hit hard enough for it to be worth to go for. But he's still going to go for that, and he just hasn't looked good recently. And after losing to Israel Adesanya, he just hasn't been the same. So Robert Whittaker is most likely going to win. I don't think he's going to finish him because Robert Whittaker doesn't really get finishes anymore. I think I'm going to go 30-27. I was going to say 29-28, but 30-27. I don't even know if this fight's... They were looking at UFC 299 is what they were saying, so I think it would just be a 3-round fight, but it would be fun either way. I think a fight of the night candidate, obviously. But on to the next fight we have. Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. This is a rebooking of the fight. They were supposed to fight at UFC Nashville in, currently still 2023. This fight's going to be in 2024. It's supposed to be UFC Nashville. Umar Nurmagomedov was getting a giant step up in competition, and is still getting it, because I don't think he's fought since that fight cancellation, because I think he was recovering from an injury. But that's the card where Corey Sandhagen fought against, Rob Font, because of the short nose thing, and he, injured his arm. So both of them were injured, but now they're healed again, and this fight's been rebooked. It's kind of crazy. I thought Corey Sandhagen would have waited for his title shot, but I guess they're kind of waiting for the Marlon Vera and then Merab Dvalishvili and then Corey Sandhagen. So I think he's just trying to, if he gets that win before Merab Dvalishvili fights, or if there's some crazy thing with that, he might just pass. I think if he beats him, they should maybe give that instead of Merab, just because. What has Merab done? Fight-wise, he's beaten who he needs to be, but he's, turned down title shots with that. I think that has to mean something with that. It's just been crazy. He's been holding up the division of that, so I don't think he should be rewarded for that, unless Corey Sandhagen loses. Corey Sandhagen loses, he gets the fight. That's kind of my opinion on it, and just marketing-wise, no one wants to see Merab Dvalishvili as champion. Just no one. This guy, he doesn't finish people unless it's a completely exhausted, old, washed-up Marlon Moraes. It's just, no one wants to see that. But Umar Nurmagomedov, I think he does have a chance to win, but I also think Corey Sandhagen is just better. Umar hasn't beaten anyone. He's in the top 15. He's number 12, number 13, I believe. And his most decorated win is Raoni Barcelos, who is a good fighter, 100% is a good fighter. And he KO'd him first round. It was an impressive win. I watched back that fight recently. It was good. Well, I was watching it back. It just popped up on like a highlight thing, and it was a really good knockout. But that's his best win. And Raoni Barcelos, I think they were saying that he was in the top 15 or something. I don't think he was. It's the same thing they were doing for that one guy that Sean O'Malley beat right before the Pedro Munoz fight, where it's like, oh, he's in the top 15, which got Sean O'Malley to the rankings, but he wasn't in the rankings. He just wasn't. So he has not beaten anyone in the top 15 and is ranked like 12 or 13. So they're desperately trying to get this guy into a position to fight for the title. Yes, he's an undefeated fighter. He's got the Nurmagomedov name. He's the cousin of Khabib, one of the greatest lightweights of all time. Probably the greatest lightweight of all time. And he's got striking. He's got something that Khabib never really had that wasn't like kind of a brawling, kind of more boxing style. He can throw kicks. He can throw these spinning shit. He can throw all of that stuff. But Corey Sandhagen can strike better. And against Rob Font, with an injury, was able to out-wrestle and just grapple him. Now, yes, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but it kind of showed that this guy is willing to fight through injury and can grapple. So I don't see where Khabib, where Umar beats him. I know ground-wise he could probably beat him with that, but Corey Sandhagen can defend takedowns. He's doing it against Marlon Vera. He's doing it against Song Yadong, I'm pretty sure. No, yeah, Song Yadong, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's just doing that. And just striking-wise, he's just so long, he's so lanky. He's just going to pick apart with leg kicks, some jabs. He'll throw some crazy stuff like some flying knees, maybe a spinning back kick, something like that. He's going to target the body with some boxing, move out of it, leg kick, headshot, jab, head kick maybe. It's just, he's going to pick him apart. I think it's going to show the levels of Umar just hasn't fought that type of competition yet. But I am excited for this fight. They're planning for this fight to be in February. Maybe a main event, I think. And on to the next one. The next two are going to be a part of the same card, which will be actually taking place in Mexico. This is going to be crazy. But we have Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi in the flyweight division. This is going to be the co-main event of the last fight we'll be talking about. And I'm excited for this fight. We finally have Brandon Moreno returning, and it won't be in a title fight because his last 7 fights have been title fights of that. So we're kind of having to see him have to build himself back up because he's lost to Pantoja, and he's lost to him multiple times. And I know some of you are going to argue, like, oh, no, he won that fight. No, he did not win that fight. I don't get these Brian Moreno fans thinking he won it. He lost the third fight with Figueiredo, and he lost the first one. I know they said it was a draw. It was not a draw, and it was clearly that Figueiredo won, even with the foul with that. Now, yes. And then, yes, Brian Moreno beat him in the fourth fight, obviously. I know it was a TKO doctor stoppage and that, but he was piecing him up in that fight with that. So I think, and this is just a good fight to kind of move the division along because Pantoja had been the only person to really fight for the title that wasn't Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo, and Kai France for an interim title fight. So this is going to be exciting to see. And Amir Albazi, speaking of Kai France, I don't think Amir Albazi beat Kai France. I know a lot of people do, but I don't think it was as big as a robbery as people thought and as people thought originally. Because I was even agreeing. I was like, that's a fucking robbery blatantly. He didn't win that fight. I still don't think he won the fight, but it wasn't like a horrible robbery. And Amir Albazi at least showed that he didn't take a lot of damage in that fight with that, but he was outstruck. Damage-wise, he still took more damage, but he wasn't like being like going through an absolute war, getting like mangled out there. Still, and I know Brandon Moreno, and I saw people talking about this. Some people are picking Amir Albazi for some reason. I think there's a chance he wins, but just to be like, oh, he's going to smoke, he's going to run through him. I don't see that unless the damage Brandon Moreno has been taking from these past wars he's been in. Because I know flyweights, it's like that where it's a lot more like technical. That Brandon Moreno has been in a lot of wars. He's been probably in the most wars of anybody in the flyweight division's history. 4 fights with Davison Figueiredo. Granted, the second fight he didn't really take any major damage in that. In the fourth fight, he was dominating, but he still got hit and all that. But their first fight and their third fight both were crazy wars in that. Brandon Moreno's got dropped multiple times on the third time, the first fight. So he's taken a lot of damage. The Pantoja fight as well was just crazy damage for both of them. It'll be interesting. And Brandon Moreno is just, maybe it depends on how he recovers from that. It would be very shocking if Amir Albazi is the person to KO Brandon Moreno, but I just don't see it happen. His striking just isn't what it needs to be in the top 5 right now. And I think Moreno is super well-rounded. He's got really good takedown defense, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he actually is one, like, in MMA-wise, he's an actual, like, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Not like Kron Gracie, who does that and he goes into the octagon and, like, lays on his back and tries to take Jourdain into the ground. No, this guy will submit. You submit Davison Figueiredo. Crazy fight with that. I think he just beats Amir Albazi anywhere the fight goes. Striking-wise especially, he will light him up crazy, and I'm excited for this fight. We have enough Mexican talent to have a card in Mexico, and I'm really sad that we didn't do it this year when we had 3 Mexican champions. Now we only have one in Alexa Grasso, and we don't know how long she will hold the title for, so we kind of missed that opportunity. So because we had 3 champs at the same time, it's never happened before, so it's sad that we missed it, but this at least will be a good card. But now we have our final card, or our final fight that we're talking about. This was announced yesterday, and I'm a bit mixed on it. And this will be the main event of the UFC Mexico card for 2024, which is a rematch between Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega. Now, I'm a bit mixed on this. I'm happy that Brian Ortega is finally fucking back in the octagon, because he has been out for a long time. And it wouldn't have been a problem. It's like, oh, where is he? He hasn't done that. But he's been, like, a rank squatting recently, well, not just for quite some time now. He's number 3 in the division. He should have been passed by Arnold Allen. He should have been passed by Ilya Topuria. His last win that he had was against the Korean Zombie in 2019. And yes, and this is, as I said, this is a rematch. Yair Rodriguez has fought 2 times since fighting Brian Ortega. He beat Josh Emmett. He submitted him, won the interim title. And then he got finished by Alexander Volkanovski in the unification bout. It was International Fight Week of this year of it. And yes, this fight is definitely being made because it's marketed for the controversy that happened. And yeah, I do think it was a bit controversial, not controversial of like, oh, something really bad happened like Yair Rodriguez did, but just kind of the ending of it where his shoulder went out of place with it. And yes, 9 out of 10 times that does not happen, but it happened, and Yair Rodriguez put him in the position for that to happen, where he was trying to put him in submission of that. And I know the fight was super short, but Yair Rodriguez was piecing him up on the feet. Because Brian Ortega, yeah, he looked good striking-wise against Korean Zombie, which, who doesn't right now? But he was just kind of walking in, taking punches, hoping that his chin would be able to hold up against it, and then just to take him down. And he eventually got it, but then he got put into submission by Yair Rodriguez, and then his shoulder just went out of place. So it had to get stopped, obviously. Not the way you wanted it to end, but it's happened, and I don't think it's as controversial as people thought, but it's still controversial. But I'm saying that now, but I don't think this warrants a rematch of this fight for Brian Ortega's immediate return. I think he should have had to fight, like, Movsar Evloev on the return, because if someone needs to defend their rank, it's fucking Brian Ortega. Yair Rodriguez isn't clear either because of just, he failed to even be around for his drug test. He came back, lost to Max Holloway, beat Brian Ortega in that win, and then demanded a title shot. Got an interim title fight against Josh Emmett, who Josh Emmett just was not meant for that, and then loses to Volkanovski. So he also needed to defend his rank. But Brian Ortega, you cannot deny this man needed to do that more. So I'm kind of pissed that Arnold Allen, who was on a crazy win streak, he had like the second longest win streak active before losing to Max Holloway. And he lost that, and he was fighting against these guys. He had beat Calvin Kattar. I know he tore his ACL and all that. And Calvin Kattar, I don't know when that guy's going to return either, but, you know, it was just, he at least had been fighting these guys. He beat Dan Hooker. He beat all these guys, and in pretty good fashion of that. So I don't think he was supposed to be the one defending his title against Movsar Evloev. I don't know why Brian Ortega why he's getting the special treatment, because he isn't really doing anything with that. His Instagram isn't really popping off or anything. His personality isn't really there with that. I think the biggest news thing we saw from before was Paul Costa stole his girl or something. I don't remember. I just saw a picture of it. I didn't really pay attention because I don't really care. But just, like, I get it. I'm happy for this fight, but I'm also not, just because, like, do we really need a rematch of this right now? Like, was it really that, like, no one's really talking about this beforehand. But, I mean, it's happening, and I guess we can't complain about it because it's already happening. But, like, I don't know. It's just still talking about that. But as for a prediction, I'm going Yair Rodriguez. I just think he's just better. Because Brian Ortega, he's been in 2 wars where he's been absolutely outclassed. Outside of a 3rd round where he got 2 very, very tight and close submissions against Volkanovski, and he didn't even win that round, I don't think. So I say at least one competitive round. I say one competitive round against his 2 title fight shots. And if he wins this fight, he's going to get a title shot because that's, I guess, how it works. He only needs to get 1 win even though he's on a 2-fight losing streak. It's just how it's going to be with that, and I don't get why. And I know people are going to say, like, oh, Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu. And yes, he is a good jiu-jitsu player. I think anyone who says that he isn't is kind of stupid. But he isn't, like, if you're on the ground with him, you're gone, because that's just simply not the case with that. And Yair Rodriguez has developed a bit of a ground game. Like, he's got some submissions with that, and it's been shocking, because when he submitted Josh Emmett, I was actually shocked by that. Now, he's not really an offensive wrestler or anything, but he's at least an offensive jiu-jitsu player. If you get him to the ground, he will go for a submission if he needs to be with that, but his striking is where he's going to go for that. And I think Brian Ortega is just going to try to walk in and try to get him to the ground. And I don't think Yair Rodriguez is going to fear that. He's going to just throw kicks at him, because against Alexander Volkanovski, that was the biggest fear you could see in that, and you saw that. But that was the thing of that where I don't think Brian Ortega is going to try to hold position, like take him down, maintain his position, and just rain down strikes at him like Volkanovski did. Volkanovski had probably one of the best performances against Yair Rodriguez that anyone has had, other than maybe Frankie Edgar. But that was early on in his career for Yair Rodriguez. So for prime and peak Yair Rodriguez, for Volkanovski to do that against him, that's probably the most impressive performance against him. And Brian Ortega is not that type of ground fighter. He's going to latch up a submission and try to either make you tap, or he's going to snap your arm off, or just choke you and put you unconscious. So, and I think Yair Rodriguez, I think he's confident enough of a ground fighter to get out submissions and stay on the feet. So I don't think he should try to submit him or do any of that. I think he's going to focus on trying to strike him. And I don't know. I don't know how Brian Ortega's chin is going to hold up after all this, but maybe the break is doing good for him because this guy takes crazy damage, has to take huge layoffs. I'm going to go a 3-2 on rounds for Yair Rodriguez. I just see it's going to be at least a somewhat competitive fight. Maybe 4-1 on rounds. I'm going to go 4-1 on rounds. I think Brian Ortega is going to have a competitive round where he gets a submission attempt on there and at least maintain some ground control on that, while Yair Rodriguez isn't really able to deal enough damage to make it a clear who's done more damage, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's the final fight. I was just kind of wanting to give my thoughts on it because I was happy and sad about this fight being made. But, it's been made. I'm really excited for all these fights. I'm excited to see Robert Whittaker return just because he's one of my favorite fighters. And I was really sad when Dricus beat him, but I'm at least happy that there's some movement in the division with that. And if Robert Whittaker looks really good in this fight and really sets, like, what he did against Marvin Vettori, which is probably one of his best performances of recently, I think he might be set up for a title shot, if I'm being honest. He might be in line for that, because at least if he wins that fight, he'll at least have a better claim than Khamzat Chimaev. We can say that. But I think Dricus should have that. He has the title fight next, but I mean, I don't know what would be next then. You know what I mean? Like maybe Israel returns at some point, but I feel like Izzy's going to want to fight at UFC 300. That's kind of my prediction against Khamzat Chimaev. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen and what I want to happen. So that's just kind of my thoughts on those fights, and I'm excited for each and every one of them. All right, bye.